everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. For today's video, I'm proud to present an up-close and personal in-depth look with the 2016 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. This will be an in-depth review where we'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, and go over the performance data, and show you many of the unique aspects throughout the interior as well as exterior. Before we begin, I'd like to extend a huge thanks and shout out to Porsche up the main line in Newtown, Pennsylvania for providing us this opportunity today. For more information about the dealership, including contact info and current inventory, please feel free to check out their website provided in the description box below. So without further ado, let's go and hop on in, start it up, let it run. This particular example is finished in ultraviolet, which is a $3,140 color option. The inside is an optional combination of leather and Alcantara for $3,480. It's accented by GT silver contrast stitching. I'll talk about optional features and pricing as we go through the video. To start, all you have to do is just take the key fob, insert it into the slot, left-hand side of the dash, then put your foot on the brake and flick it to the right to go. For Porsche, RS stands for Racing Sport or Rennsport in German. It also stands for the most hardcore track-focused 911 you can buy. Based on the GT3, the RS takes race-inspired styling and performance to a new level with advanced engineering in both design and general dynamics to deliver one of the most raw and engaging driving experiences in the super sports car segment. The first RS was launched back in 1973, known as the 911 Carrera RS 2.7. That car, originally introduced as a homologation model for the GT sports car racing class, boasted a huge wing, a more powerful engine, lightweight bodywork, wider fenders, and more. Today, those ideals continue in a strong way, but take advantage of a wealth of modern technology, including but not limited to torque vectoring, adaptive suspension technology, a dual-clutch gearbox, and impressive aerodynamics. Two styling traits that immediately stand out over the GT3 is a large front spoiler and rear wing. Another unique element to the RS is a long 11.8-inch wide recess that varies in depth between 0.2 and 0.4 inches. This is claimed to reference the luggage compartment of classic 911 models, with the recess beginning at the edge of the hood and extending over the roof. As important as aerodynamics are for a car like this, another key priority was reducing weight. For starters, the roof is made of magnesium and is just 0.039 inches thick. It also weighs 2.4 pounds less than the aluminum roof used on the GT3 and is 1.8 pounds lighter than a comparable carbon fiber roof. This weight reduction primarily lowers the center of gravity to benefit handling. Carbon fiber also makes its way to the hood, rear engine cover, and the front fenders, which saves a total of 8 pounds. The rear fascia is even 2.2 pounds lighter thanks to a new material concept that combines polyurethane, hollow glass beads, and carbon fiber reinforcements. A lightweight wiring harness also contributes to weight savings. Another thing you probably noticed though is the wide body. Unlike the GT3, the RS adopts the 911 Turbo's wide body stance, complete with wider wheels and tires, wider tracks, and the gaping rear fender intakes, which are adapted to serve as the engine air intakes of the RS. We'll discuss that more in depth in just a moment. All in all, the RS weighs about 22 pounds less than the GT3. You can also delete equipment such as the air conditioning for even greater weight savings. Despite having a drag coefficient of 0.34, Porsche claims the RS generates 3 times the amount of downforce seen with the GT3 and more than twice as much as the previous RS 4.0. In fact, the total downforce produced at 186 miles per hour is about 80% of that seen with a 911 GT3 Cup car. Up front, a large front spoiler and a pair of air exhaust vents on the wheel arches work in tandem to lower the air pressure between the body and the road, helping generate up to 267 pounds of downforce over the front axle. The wheel arch vents extend down into the fenders and not only provide a cover, but help control the air as it exits. This alone boosted front-end downforce by about 30%. A huge carbon fiber wing provides the majority of downforce over the rear axle, 494 pounds worth. Not only is it larger and more aggressive than the one used on the GT3, but it's adjustable to 3 different positions. The wing is bolted on and uses forged aluminum support arms for less weight. As you'll see in just a bit, the wing and the RS-specific carbon fiber engine cover are fixed together as a single unit. Below the wing is a swept-up trailing edge and a central air vent to alleviate heat. More heat extraction vents can be found on top of the engine compartment in the rear fascia. General downforce is aided by a nearly flat underbody. Aside from a handful of NACA ducts for various cooling measures, the smooth surface channels air with minimal turbulence with a key focus on reducing lift at higher speeds. The RS also has a unique black rocker panel set that's about 0.79 inches wider than the one used on the 911 Turbo. 2 subtle exterior details exclusive to the RS are the decals used for the front and rear badging. Not necessarily for a weight-saving measure, but it's more in line with what you'd expect to see in race cars. This example also features the optional LED adaptive headlamps with black housings, a $3,715 option, as well as the clear tail lamps, which is a $650 option. Pricing for the GT3 RS starts at $176,950, including a $1,050 destination fee. This example, featuring a ton of optional extras, has an MSRP of around $209,105, including a gas guzzler tax of $1,300. The RS features a set of asymmetric forged aluminum wheels that are wrapped in grippy Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. Race-derived center locking hubs allow for quick tire changes on track days. The wheels are half an inch wider and the tires have a 20% greater contact patch compared to the GT3. In fact, measuring 20 by 9.5 inches in front and 21 by 12.5 inches in the rear, they're the same dimensions as the wheels used on the 918 Spider. Along with new wheel hub carriers at the front and rear axle, there's modified wheel bearings, new wheel hubs, and an RS-specific steering gear. Like any new 911, the RS uses an electromechanical power steering system with speed-sensitive power assistance and a variable ratio. The tires, 265/35s in front and 325/30s in the rear, are also the same width as the tires used on the 918, but they're made from a slightly different compound. This makes them the widest tires ever fitted to a 911. The standard brakes for the RS are shared with the GT3 and consist of 15-inch internally ventilated and cross-drilled cast-iron rotors at each corner. As shown here, the 3rd generation of Porsche's carbon ceramic braking system is also available. They're a $9,210 option and are made using a combination of silicon carbide and carbon fiber reinforcements. Along with having larger rotors measuring 16.1 by 1.4 inches in front and 15.4 by 1.3 inches in the rear, they deliver even better stopping performance with even more aggressive brake pads, reduce unsprung weight, and are more resistant to wear for greater long-term durability. Dedicated air channels underneath the car provide proper cooling to the brakes, minimizing fade for consistent stopping power on the track. Both braking setups feature aluminum monoblock fixed calipers, 6 piston units in front and 4 piston units in the rear. With a 1.8-inch wider front and 1.1-inch wider rear track compared to the GT3, as well as a number of model-specific chassis and suspension components, the RS was designed for exceptional grip and stability on the road and the track. The fully independent suspension consists of McPherson struts in front and a multi-link rear design. The front mounts and the RS-specific struts and the rear damper bushings on the body side are fitted with ball joints, which are claimed to offer greater precision than conventional elastokinematic mounts and provide a more rigid connection between the body and chassis. If that's not enough, the entire chassis is adjustable, including the toe angle, degree of camber, sway bars, and even the ride height, which sits 1.18 inches lower than your typical 911, so you can custom tailor the car's handling behavior. Unlike its predecessor, the new RS features rear axle steering that can vary the angle of the rear wheels by 1.5 degrees in either direction. At lower speeds, the front and rear wheels steer opposite to each other to sharpen turn-in. Above 50 miles an hour, the front and rear wheels steer together to enhance precision and agility. Fine-tuning things is a specifically calibrated stability control system, adaptive dampers, and torque vectoring. With its low ground clearance, the optional electro-pneumatic front axle lift system is almost a necessity. When activated, the front raises up by 1.18 inches, making speed bumps and driveway clearance a bit easier. It functions all the way up to 31 miles per hour before returning back to its normal height. Overall length is 178.9 inches with a width of 74 inches and a height of 50.8 inches. It rides on a 96.7 inch wheelbase and has a curb weight of around 3,131 pounds. The RS boasts the largest and most powerful naturally aspirated engine in the 911 lineup. Derived from the 3.8-liter horizontally opposed flat 6 found in the GT3, the RS mill has been almost completely reworked. Displacing 4 liters thanks to a 4mm longer stroke, this all-aluminum engine features dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, dual variable valve timing, and a compression ratio of 12.9:1. With a focus on reducing inertia, the 4-liter introduces a lighter valve train with new valve springs. Fuel is delivered via direct injection, while an updated dry sump lubrication system with a new oil pump and separate reservoir maintains proper oiling even at high cornering speeds. The cylinder heads and camshafts have been redesigned along with a special tempered steel crankshaft from Porsche's 919 hybrid LMP1 race car that allows the engine speeds to reach a peak of 8,800 RPM. On top of that, the pistons have been reinforced along with the titanium connecting rods and crankshaft bearings. There's even lightweight valve tappets and cam followers. The RS develops a massive 500 horsepower at 8,250 RPM and 338 pound-feet of torque at 6,250 RPM. Compared to the GT3, that's an increase of 25 horsepower and 13 pound-feet of torque. With a low weight-to-power ratio of 6.3 pounds per horsepower, the RS is able to hit 60 miles an hour in just 3.1 seconds, fly through the quarter mile in 11.2 seconds, and achieve a top speed of 193 miles per hour. Porsche also claims that it takes just 2 seconds to accelerate from 50 to 75 miles an hour. Another major way the RS differs from a regular GT3 is its induction system. As I mentioned earlier, the RS uses the 911 Turbo's wide rear fenders. The side intakes, while typically used for charge air cooling, serve as the engine air intakes on the RS. This leads to less intake resistance versus taking in air from the rear deck lid cover like in the GT3. At higher speeds, the side intakes actually create a ram air effect, which is claimed to deliver an added 10 horsepower. Combined with a low restriction air filter and a variable intake manifold, performance is not only optimized across the RPM band, but a unique sound is generated to give the RS its own audible personality. A lightweight variable exhaust system is also standard, designed with low back pressure. The RS muffler is made of titanium and weighs just 9.9 pounds. That's a 6.6 pound weight saving over the GT3 steel muffler. Like the GT3, the RS uses dynamic engine mounts to help counteract unwanted drivetrain movements and maintain control more effectively during hard cornering. As far as fuel economy, the RS is rated between 14 miles per gallon in the city and 20 miles per gallon on the highway, with a combined average of 16 miles per gallon. Premium fuel is required and held within a 16.9 gallon tank. An extended range 23.9 gallon fuel tank is optional. The new GT3 RS is the first RS to come exclusively with an automatic transmission, specifically Porsche's amazing 7-speed dual-clutch PDK gearbox. Power is sent to the rear wheels through an electronically controlled limited slip differential. The latter also uses torque vectoring to drive torque to the rear wheel with the most traction. In low grip scenarios, the system also has the ability to selectively apply the brakes to the rear wheels to assist with turn-in. Along with delivering incredible response and lightning-quick gear changes, you're also able to shift it manually by the console shifter itself or by a set of large paddles on the steering wheel. When placed into manual mode, it gives the driver full control of the transmission's behavior. In other words, it won't respond to kickdown or automatically upshift at redline. It's all up to you and how you want the car to perform. Porsche also states that the paddle shifter travel is shorter and crisper than other 911 models to dial in even more feedback. The transmission gear ratios are carried over from the GT3, but the RS has a shorter rear axle ratio to compensate for the larger 21-inch rear wheels. Probably one of the more unique features of this transmission is its paddle neutral feature. When driving, if you pull both paddles simultaneously, the clutches of the PDK are opened, which effectively decouples the engine from the drivetrain. Once the paddles are released, the clutches re-engage. The feature has two primary functions. The first is to counteract understeer on wet pavement by redirecting grip to the front wheels by shifting the weight of the car. The second is the ability to intentionally destabilize the car for more dynamic turn-in. You can also use paddle neutral when accelerating from a standstill to allow for some added control over clutch engagement, similar to what you would experience in a manual transmission. Behind the shifter is a new pit speed mode, which allows you to limit the car's speed of travel up to 55 miles per hour, almost like an auxiliary cruise control for pit lane. So now let's go ahead and see how she sounds with the exhaust set to sport mode. Inside, the RS is very much a 911. Everything you'd expect from build quality to overall refinement is present and accounted for, only this car certainly has more of a pure motorsports vibe than, say, a more luxurious 911 Turbo. The fit and finish and materials used are world class. The leather is supple and smooth while the carbon fiber trim is flawless. Aluminum and Alcantara detailing added the sporty feel. Look closely and you'll begin to see a variety of weight-saving measures. For starters, there's model-specific RS door panels that swap out traditional handles for pull straps made of seatbelt material. The latter saves about a pound of weight. Things you can't readily see are some of the optional weight-saving measures, one of which is the option to delete the stereo and infotainment system, which saves 17 pounds and swaps the whole setup for a storage tray. You can also delete the air conditioning system to save an additional 26 pounds. The seats in the RS were lifted straight from the 918 Spider, nicely detailed with a combination of leather, Alcantara, and accent stitching. They're some of the most well-rounded racing seats I've ever sat in, and combine manual fore and aft adjustment with electric height adjustment for the driver and passenger. There's no reclining feature with the one-piece carbon fiber shell, but even with plenty of firm padding to grip you tight, it's not tight enough that it hinders its flexibility as a usable road car. It also doesn't take a tremendous amount of skill to climb into, and once you're inside, you'll still find ample space to get comfortable. The headrests are fixed and feature GT3 RS embroidery. Both the regular GT3 and the RS go without a back seat. While the rear seats in other 911 models are modest at best, by going without them, they were not only to save even more weight, but it actually made for quite a decent amount of storage space if needed. The rear compartment is lined in Alcantara and carpet with more GT3 embroidery. The 14.2-inch diameter steering wheel is also borrowed from the 918, albeit without the multifunction controls and drive mode selector. It's manually adjustable in tilt and telescope. Along with the space behind the seats, additional storage can be found in small door pockets, center console, and glove box. The latter is damped and lockable for added security. Inside is lined in felt and features a decent amount of space. Right above that, hidden behind a slender faceplate, are two pop-out cup holders. The interior is well protected by 6 airbags, including 2 front, 2 thorax, and 2 door-mounted side airbags. A fire extinguisher is optional. Despite being born a track car, the RS comes with a lot of standard equipment and creature comforts, like air conditioning and a basic 4-speaker audio system, a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system with navigation, hands-free telephone, media integration, and more. You also have a dual-zone climate control system, but like I said earlier, you can delete all of that in the name of weight savings. Towards the rear of the console, you have a variety of controls corresponding to things like stability, adaptive dampers, open and active exhaust, and engaging the pit speed feature I mentioned earlier. You also have the option of Porsche's Sport Chrono Pack with a new app that you can also download to your smartphone to stream data and the like. One of my favorite things is the vast array of instruments. The white backing is an optional feature, while to the right you have a very detailed driver information system. So let's go ahead and shut her down. Pop the boot, and we'll check out cargo space. As I mentioned previously in my review of the 2017 911 4S Cabriolet, cargo space isn't too bad considering what this car's mission is all about. Up front, you have about 4 to 5 cubic feet of cargo space, which isn't a ton of space, but it's enough for 2 small bags for a weekend trip. But don't forget, there's a ton of space behind the carbon fiber seats as well, so it's a little flexible. Towards the windshield header, you also have easy access to your windshield washer fluid and brake fluid reservoirs. The coolest thing up here is the fact that you can actually see all of the exposed carbon fiber from underneath the hood. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2016 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's always a lot more where that came from. Take care everyone.